Hello.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Mundelein Minute. This is season 3,
I'm just
episode
going to look
number
down
8.
here because Isabella's just staring at me.
Isabella got moved off the couch, and now she's plotting our deaths.
Come here. You can come
You can
back.
sit up here, girl. It's okay.
Okay.
Okay. Anyways,
She's
we're
gonna
here
kill
today in a nice, soft voice to talk about last night's village board meeting. Before we do,
You tired?
yeah,
Okay,
a
good.
little bit.
Okay, good.
Before we get into it, my name is Eric Schwenk. I am a trustee in the village of Mundelein.
I'm Kara Lambert. I'm also a trustee in the village of Mundelein.
Yep. And this is my house, cameras, microphones, no taxpayer dollars in the creation and distribution of this podcast. And there's also a kid upstairs playing ukulele, an annoying bird that's squawking, and people above us in the kitchen. So if there's background noise, hey, it's life, right?
It's our house. It's your house.
It's a house. It's not our house.
It's your house.
You don't live here. All right. So we kicked it off right on time last night at 7 o'clock. All the trustees were present. Did the Pledge of Allegiance, the approval of minutes, public commentary. I did not grab my notes. They are right over there. I'm going to say
I think there was 12.
12 was my number. I was
Yeah.
going to say 12 to 16.
There was 12.
12 people that spoke. 11 of them were regarding the Route 53
Yes.
and the land usage there. And then one was about a variance for a fence.
Yes.
Yeah.
Were you talking about, are you going to go into public commentary? What are you going to say?
Well, there's really not much to say other than that the 11 people that spoke regarding the Route 53 land use. What do we call that? Land use.
Well, I feel like we should back up. So up for discussion last night
Vote.
and a vote was whether or not the Route 53 right of way should be transferred. We should support a transfer of that land from IDOT to IDNR, the Illinois Department of Natural Resources. There was no
Correct.
discussion on like what we were not supporting a use for it. It was well, sort of you were, but we were supporting the transfer of land, and that was all that was on there.
Yeah.
And that came from a task force, with no governing power, so we didn't have to do it, right? We had no authority. Like us doing it or not doing it made no difference.
Correct. So we just want
I don't know. Just go
talk
ahead.
about this
Whatever.
now, or
We
you
can
want to
talk
go
about-
through the
I just want to know why. I just wanted people to know why there was public commentary last night. We can talk about it later, but
Sure.
so
Okay.
there was a large group of conservation groups in
from the Chicagoland area, from
Open
Lake County,
Lands, McHenry, the
Cook
city.
County.
I mean, all sorts of places that spoke about conservation and why it's important. However, that was not even what we were voting on.
Correct.
So
and there were residents there too, and some of those residents
I think
are
2
involved.
residents, yeah,
Well,
spoke.
and some are residents that are involved in these conservation
Right.
groups, so there's a little bit of overlap there too.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll get back to that. We did a presentation under presentations and awards, introducing our new canine ranger, and
That little boy, Tyler and Ranger, the Tyler and Ranger show, they need a movie.
yes, they do. It is adorable to watch.
God, so cute.
Officer Freeze,
Yeah.
his little boy interact with this dog. It is just the most adorable thing ever.
And Deputy Chief Seeley talked about how the fact of when you get a dog and you become a canine handler, that dog like lives with you.
Yeah, it's
Right.
a part of your family.
Right. And so like he thanked the family for accepting this dog. And I kind of wanted to be like, do you see this kid with his dog? I don't think the guy had a choice on whether they were getting a dog.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly. It's just whether the dog goes to work with them or not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It was and then of course Ranger's what, 2.5, so he's still,
What a baby.
he's still got some puppy in him.
And he was like whining and you could tell like he wanted to go and like
he just wanted to play.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then when everybody clapped, he was like, "Huh? What? What's going on?" It was pretty
it's
awesome.
pretty funny.
And we had 2 other presentations and awards. We moved those later in the evening. One was regarding the Tighthead Mundelein Grand Prix, which is the bike race, and some challenges around that for the next year. And then Cortland Park presentation. So we'll get into that. There were no hearings under public hearings. And under the mayor's report, we appointed Ed
Kaler. Yeah.
Yeah, we got corrected on his last name last night, to the Mundelein Arts Commission. And Mark Clammett to the Economic Development Commission. And then we did some work on liquor licenses. So one of the liquor stores changed owners, so we had to amend that liquor license
yep.
for Class B.
There she is.
Hello, Isabella. And then we amended a Class G for smoke and barbecue.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Sit down. Thank you. Under tonality, since I think they should have their own subsection now for the packet.
Those poor guys.
I know they keep coming back in front of us, and they should just have their own heading here in the agenda.
Seriously.
But this was a simple one. A portion of the purchase agreement for one of the village-owned properties that they're buying is now being moved. Instead of tonality buying it, a separate LLC is buying it.
And we talked about that at the last meeting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So nothing changed there except for just assigning that contract over to them.
And
Okay.
I don't know about you, but my mom asks me every day if the old car wash is ripped down yet.
Not yet.
Every day. Is
Every
that
day.
car wash gone yet? I'm like, I don't drive by there. I don't know, Mom. It's out of our hands.
It's awesome.
So we're rooting for you, tonality. Me, especially personally, I am.
Right. Get it done. All right. So the next one was the Route 53 Alternative Land Use Task Force. So that's its full name. And a bit of background here. So in 2019, a group of communities signed on to a letter to urge the state to do something with this land.
But and that the communities wanted to participate in it.
They wanted a seat at the table. Yep. And the letter says that there should be a study conducted. It did mention Greenway. It mentioned some other items. And a House resolution was born out of that it created a task force that appointed stakeholders, if you will, whether the state representatives or Senate.
It was state rep. It was Dan Diddich.
Basically,
Melinda
if Route
Bush,
53 went through your
area, then you would be at the table, and then the mayors from those towns.
The mayors from those towns,
and then
quite a few
conservation groups.
And the mayor even pointed out last night that there was more conservation groups at the table than there are municipalities.
Yeah. And no other alternative viewpoint at all.
Correct. So I wish I had the packet in front of me. There was several things laid out by the state that the task force was to complete. One of them was a short and long-term economic development study. One of them was to provide alternative uses, plural, for this land. And the other was regarding flood mitigation and how this land could be used for that. And what draft resolution that has been provided to us for the task force to consider basically says that it is going to stay a greenway and become a state park and should be transferred to IDNR to become a state park and to figure out the financing part of it later. Oh, that was one of the other items that the state.
Yeah, they wanted financing. Yeah, what was going to pay for
how this was going to be done.
Yeah.
So to me, this was very backwards, very cart before the horse of not completing the assigned tasks, not understanding the assignment.
But just giving the end use.
Giving the end use, not figuring out who or how it was going to be paid for, and just, we're doing this. And I sat down with one of the conservation groups.
I think most of us, I know that you and I
several
both
trustees did. Yeah, I know several of us did. And I heard their side of things. I asked questions. I asked about funding and alternative uses. And the roadblock came to be that it was going to take a vote of the state. And that's fine, in my opinion. I would rather it take the time necessary to go through that process. Than to rush something, transfer this land, and have it be locked forever in IDNR's hands.
Right. Even, I said this last night. I said, if in 3 years from now, after all the metrics are met of like they have funding in place or they have a plan in place, and IDNR does become the best place for it, then that's fine to support that. And I don't think you do it. In theory, having a greenway space sounds amazing.
Absolutely.
Like, sounds great. However, you get into these details of like, money.
Yeah.
or even like a comprehensive plan that shows what it's going to be, or parking, or how you're going to, Trustee Ross last night really just crushed.
She nailed it.
She nailed it. How are you going to support the surrounding infrastructure of the community? Because you're going to have tourism all of a sudden in your community. Well, what's going to help with the roads? Where are those people going to park?
Yep.
All of these issues that come up, and then there was no plan for it last night. So, ultimately, again, like, this just felt like it was very premature, and I don't quite frankly see the point of why it came to us. We have no legislative say over the matter. It's not our land.
Neither does the task force.
Right. It's not our land.
The resolution only strongly recommends that IDOT do this, and strongly recommends that IDNR create a secondary task force after this.
Right.
There's no authority here besides that of the state.
Right.
And I even likened it to the years past of the unfunded mandates that municipalities would get from the state legislators. And this is the reverse of that, where we're giving the unfunded mandate to the state that, hey, you have to take this land and do what we tell you to do with it, and then figure out funding later. By the way, you have to fund it, state.
Yeah.
So, again, cart before the horse, not a fully baked idea.
No. So it ultimately got the resolution. We are not in support of the task force recommendations as a municipality.
As it stands today.
This can change. If they all of a sudden were like, oh, we forgot this part of our presentation, here you go. That creates a whole different situation. And then we as Mundelein supported a resolution of our own that it should be studied from an economic development standpoint as well, not just a conservation standpoint.
And we have asked for the economic data.
All of us individually and collectively from
the village.
From the village.
Yeah. So the conservation groups have thrown out a lot of numbers to us over the past couple of months that we've been discussing this.
But what's my favorite saying? Citation desperately needed.
Citation desperately needed.
There was no source for any of it.
And not only a source, but the document itself to back up that source.
Yeah.
And we just want to be able to see the data before we make a decision like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we've harped on it.
Okay, we'll move on.
Yeah.
So under trustee reports, the community and economic development, I guess I should say we paused here to go to our awards and our presentations.
because we kind of reconfigured the
agenda.
agenda.
we kind of changed some things around in the agenda. So the Mundelein Grand Prix, Taylor, who Wegrin, did I get it right?
It's Wegrin, isn't it?
Wegrin? I don't know. Taylor, I don't know how to say your last name.
Yeah.
Nobody does.
It's got a lot of vowels and consonants.
It does.
In no particular order.
And Taylor, I told him last night after the meeting that he's like the best cheerleader and the best ringleader for this.
Yeah.
And he does an outstanding job every year now for the last 2 years. And this was going to be our third year. But he brought us some challenges. So there's some ongoing construction in the downtown area that will carry over through next year. And we have to take that in consideration when planning a bike race on those streets. Right. So some changes had to be made, and it's going to affect the closure of some streets for that day. And not only the closure of the streets, but the access to properties. Right. And that was something that we had to take a look at.
I appreciate that Taylor was cognizant of the fact of which routes affected how many properties. So.
Yep. Yeah, they looked at several different alternative routes. And
St. Mary of the Lake would have been cool, but not big enough.
Yeah, I guess the roadway wasn't wide enough, and there wasn't a straightaway, which is a requirement for the race, but it would have been beautiful.
It would have been really pretty.
Yeah. So ultimately, the board decided to move forward. There's going to be some changes to the course. It's still going to be similar around the Village Plaza, around that area.
It just sounds like the starting line is kind of like shifting.
The starting line is shifting. It's basically moving south one block.
Yeah.
And there's just going to be some impacts there, but the village is going to start reaching out now that we've given the green light to start mitigating some of that and hopefully finding some solutions.
And now we'll go to the Intelligentsia Cup for approval. So.
Right. Correct. So we voted on that, but the last one was the park. So Cortland Park is...
It's going to be called Cortland Commons now.
Cortland Commons, sorry. Cortland Commons is the the southeast. You're directionally challenged.
It's behind Santa Maria.
Behind Santa Maria, right. Where that parking lot is, that belongs to Santa Maria. Behind that is that vast open space
Yes.
where the retention area is for the Big Dig project. And part of that land will now become, I want to call it Norton Commons after these conversations, but Cortland Commons.
Cortland Commons.
And will become this this beautiful park that has a nod to the music factory that once stood where the
Yeah, and it will allow
retention.
kind of like a venue for food trucks and concerts and more of like a like a place for those right now,
Yeah,
because like
right.
we have concerts in the park and it's kind of just like thrown in Cracklower Park and they perform on the gazebo and like it's okay and it's good, and but now this is kind of creates a pad, like a concrete pad for bands
Yeah.
to come in and out of. Probably makes bands life easier. I don't know anything about music, but I assume having concrete you can drive on is easier than walking your stuff
Oh,
over.
absolutely. Yeah.
And also creates kind of like an urban feel around that detention pond or retention pond. I don't know the difference.
That place that holds the water.
Yep, the place where the Big Dig water goes. Walking trails, benches, things like that. Also, there'll be some new. There'll be more that will be added to this project as well. So I think it has the intention of what we created for. We had to, per your conversation last night, we had to scale down our plans because of cost.
Yeah. What was the value?
What did he say? Value added.
No, it wasn't
What
value added. It was value engineered.
Value engineered. Yeah.
Value
yeah.
engineered.
Yeah.
That is municipal speak for taking things out of the proposal. And so we value engineered out the butterfly farm or butterfly garden. But as Kara can attest, I redid the entire front yard of my house and built a ginormous retaining wall and backfilled it with dirt, and still did not disrupt the 3 milkweeds.
Yeah. So perfect.
So it's possible,
fine.
and
We'll-
I'll
something up there.
we're gonna plant some more. We saved those pods to plant
And the
more next
beautification
year.
committee has its eyes on that park to do some things in it. Just so you know. Just so you know.
Good.
Top secret news there.
Top secret,
So-
yeah. So I guess we'll get to that motion. We did approve the $9,000 to keep the cycling race going next year. So that's our first portion of that to lock that in. And we are on day 3. It's July 24th.
It's a Monday, yeah.
It's a Monday.
Yep.
It's a board meeting night. I was like, oh man.
Again?
Yeah. Stand around there and watch. Yeah,
I just hate that we missed the community ride.
I know.
That's my plan.
Well, call for a recess if you're on the board. Wink.
Call for a recess?
Yeah,
Oh my god, that would be so funny.
that would be funny.
Gunther would kill me.
He would. All right. So next up was a fence variation for a 6-foot fence in a corner side yard at a
This
property in Loch
poor
Lomond.
Guy.
This poor guy sat there. This was roughly we finished the last part of the
9:30?
meeting. Yeah, it was probably like 9:45 or 10 almost.
Poor guy.
And he sat there and, as he even said, learned a lot about municipal government last night.
Poor guy.
But he got his variance.
He got his variance. So he wanted a 6-foot fence 15 feet away versus 20 feet away from the property line.
Well,
right?
no, he wants it on the property line, and the code allowed for it to be 15 feet back, not within that 15 feet.
Oh, fair. Okay, yeah,
setback because it's on a corner, and in the past we've given variances based on certain conditions, and last night
Yes. He got his fence.
he got his fence.
Poor guy.
Big program. We gave $2,500 for signs to Creations in Style at 623 North Lake Street. And then, make sure I'm on the right page here, was the wireless telecommunications tower that was discussed last board meeting.
Yep.
That got approved by ordinance. And then the Cortland Park construction. So this, go
Do
ahead.
you want to touch on your question from last night? How do we pay for it?
With a grant.
Oh!
Yes. So this is a grant that's been discussed a long time coming. And we have been given the thumbs up that we are being awarded that grant. And now it's down to paperwork and transferring money. And we were told last night 90 to 120 days to funding it.
Yeah.
And that grant will pay for the $1.3 million of this park's cost. Yeah. And that was it for that. And nothing under Public Works, under Finance Committee. It was a rather large payment of bills, $2,604,011.08. And
Why? What's
I
your
mentioned
problem?
last
Quit
night
spending money.
that a lot of this is debt service. So a very large portion of it is paying bond debt. We have outstanding municipal bonds at much better rates than what we get today, by the way.
Yeah.
but those bonds have payments, and it makes for larger bill payments. Public safety.
There was no motions, but we did have some updates from police and fire. Both of the deputy chiefs were there last night, so
It was DC night.
I know. From police, what's it called now?
Heroes and helpers.
Thank you. I was going to say shop with a cop. That's not what
That
it
is
is
not.
anymore. Heroes and Helpers is December 10th at Target. We're helping 31 families in
Yeah.
Mundelein. That's great. And then also the last coffee with a cop is December 23rd, which is the Friday
Yeah.
before Christmas.
Starbucks, Mundelein Crossing,
Yeah.
10,
It starts at 8.
8 a.m.
They always start at 8, yeah.
Got it.
So this is like a great time. I went to the last one. You know, I'm the head of public safety. I should probably be at all of them, right? But this is a great time for people to come on and just like ask general questions. There was a guy that had a deep, in-depth conversation last week about a dog barking in his neighborhood and like what he could do about it. It's like a great time. It's like, you know, super informal. It's just like a good time to ask questions.
Just coffee with a cop.
Exactly.
Blood drive.
Blood Drive was the other one. That's also on December 10th.
Busy day.
Busy day. And that was from fire. That's it. That was from them. And then we were out of there.
Yeah. Yeah, there was nothing under omnibus, nothing from the village administrator or the attorney. The clerk did mention that candidate packets, they're available on the village website, and that those are to be returned December 12th through December 19th
During business hours.
during normal business hours at Village Hall. And no executive session. We were done
It was a late night.
10:08. It was a late night. Yeah.
So that's it. What's going on this weekend? The tree lighting is Friday.
Friday, yeah.
And then
4:30
Mundelein.
to 6:30.
Yep. And then Mundelein Winterfest, which is brand new this year.
Yep.
That came out of a volunteer, the idea, and she took it to MCC and they just like ran with it. So this is cool. This is super,
That's
super
awesome.
cool. From 11 to 5 in Cracklower Park? No, in Village Circle.
Village Circle.
In Village Circle. Sorry. So yeah, hopefully we'll see you guys at both of those events, and I think that's it. What else? Anything else?
That's all I got for this weekend. I know I'm making it to the tree lighting. That's like on my calendar.
Because it's fun.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
So fun. It's like the only time my kids get to see fireworks because we don't stay up late enough.
No, there you go. Yeah.
All right, that's it. We'll see you on Friday then.
We'll see you soon, and then we'll see you all in the next episode if you don't see us out sooner. And
Questions, email us, please. We're here to help.
hello@mundelineminute.com, and we'll see you around. Have a good day.
Take care.